Michael Ruse passed away on Friday, November 1st. He was 84 years old. Ruse was a gentleman. He was also one of the top Darwin scholars in the world. I debated Ruse twice, once at Oregon State University and once in California. At the California debate, we had a little difficulty finding a venue. There were people who didn't want evolution to be criticized, and Michael was offended by this resistance to debate, resistance to open debate. He said, "You find a venue and I'll be there." I was very impressed. For my first book, I hoped to get a blurb for the dust jacket from Michael. The publisher sent him a manuscript, but his comeback was interesting work, but I can't go there. Michael was a top-notch scholar, but first and foremost, he was an evolutionist. If there was any Darwin scholar who might understand evolutionary thought, I figured it might be Michael, but he couldn't make the gestalt switch. What do I mean by gestalt switch? Let me show you a couple of examples first to get the idea. Here is an optical illusion of a young and elderly woman. Take a look at this image, and what do you see? You might see a young woman, you might see an elderly woman. Here is a red outline of the face of the young woman. She's kind of looking away. At the bottom of this red outline that I've drawn is the neck of the young woman. There's a bracelet, a black line there around her neck. Toward the top right is her ear. Toward the top left is her eye and nose. That's the young, and then that line kind of in the middle is her jawline. That's the young woman kind of looking away. Here's a different view. I've changed the red outline. This is the elderly woman. At the bottom of this red outline is her chin. And then just above that, there's that black line. That's her mouth. And then that what was the jawline of the young lady is the nose of the elderly woman. At the upper right is her eye. Maybe you can see both of them. If not, here's some instructions off of the internet explaining how you might be able to get your mind to see both of them. It can be very difficult. And this is the idea of a gestalt switch. You see something in one way and you just can't get out of it. You can't see another way. Here is another example from engineering, the time domain versus the frequency domain of a signal. Here's the time domain of a signal. Here's the frequency domain of that same signal. Very different. You see these two spikes showing that it has two frequency components in the signal. The signal is actually the superposition or addition of these two perfect sine waves shown to the right. So the frequency of those two sine waves is the frequency composition of the signal. Two very different ways of looking at a signal in the time domain or in the frequency domain. If you make a shift to the frequency domain, it shows you a different kind of information, more general information about the signal. So what is the gestalt switch for origins? First, let me explain intelligent design. It states that the world appears to be designed. It also states that contingency fails because natural laws and random events are insufficient to explain the origin of the world. Now notice that's a scientific argument. It's talking about natural laws and random events. Those are scientific concepts. You can analyze those scientifically. The argument is they are insufficient to explain the origin of the world. It's all science. What about evolution? Evolution states that the world appears to be contingent. That is, teleology fails because God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good, and so forth. This is the gestalt switch Ruse could not see. Now, to be fair, hardly anyone else sees it as well. Very few people understand this. If you want to understand more about it, you can see my Theological Naturalism playlist or other videos that I've made. But the Theological Naturalism playlist goes through 14 important theological traditions that have underwritten and mandated evolutionary theory. Problem of evil, Deus ex machina, infra dignitatem, simplicity in the creation acts, the problem of dysteleology, religious rationalism and deism, miracles, the movement against miracles, greater God, the principle of plenitude, God of the gaps, the anthropomorphic warning, the infinite regress, utilitarianism, and the intellectual necessity for naturalism. So what is the gestalt switch for origins? Evolution is a theological research program. Evolution is entirely supported by theological doctrines. There is no scientific case for evolution that holds water. The science contradicts the theory. This is the gestalt switch for origins, which is so difficult to see. Religion drives science, and it matters.